Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. So, is it a 13 or 14-year-old boy whose parents took him to Ghana because of their fear that he was being groomed by gangs? And he ended up taking them to court for taking him to Ghana. Well, the case went to court and his parents won. Take a look.
A 13-year-old boy has sued his UK parents for forcibly sending him to Africa and enrolling him in a boarding school. A boy whose identity is protected contacted the British consulate and child welfare organizations after his parents took him from the UK to Africa and registered him to an African school before they returned to be in a United Kingdom without him. The boy's legal team argued that his parents physically and emotionally abandoned him over fears of his potential involvement in gangs in London, an accusation the teenager vehemently denied. At a hearing that began on Tuesday, November 26, the boy's lawyers requested that a judge order his return to the UK, where he has lived since birth. However, the boy's father's lawyers argued that sending him to Africa was a legitimate exercise of parental responsibility. The boy was described in court as polite and articulate, with a passion for football and cooking. From the father's perspective, there had been a clear deterioration in the boy's behavior, leaning towards criminal activities, which was why he was sent to Africa. The hearing before Mr. Justice Hayden is set to continue at a later date.
A 14-year-old boy who tried to sue his own parents for sending him from London to Ghana to go to boarding school has lost his case. The High Court in London heard how his parents were worried that he was being groomed by gangs in London and feared for his safety, and moved him not as a punishment but to protect him. But the boy said his parents tricked him, saying that the visit was to see a sick relative. He told the court he's living in hell, that he's never been part of a gang and he wants to go back to his old school. But the judge said he was satisfied that the parents moved their child abroad out of love, and that the teenager was at risk of suffering greater harm coming back to the UK.
Yeah. Now, this is not new. These things have been happening for a very long time. When we were in Ghana in school, you see people coming in from the UK, the US. They'll come to school for a few years and then they are taken back to wherever they came from, whether it's Germany, whether it's UK, whether it's US, we see them. Okay. Now, some people are saying that this is a great move by the parents for doing that, and others are saying that it is wrong. I believe that there are a lot of good schools in Ghana, but it depends on the individual, because in this situation, it looks like he was far gone, right? And now you're taking him there, so he won't like it, and under the circumstances that he was being taken there. But this is not new. This is happening a lot. Let's get into what people had to say about this whole situation.
A 13-year-old boy was taken by his Ghanaian parents from London to Ghana, to Accra, to a boarding school because they feared for his life in London. Now, the 13-year-old boy, wrote a very strongly worded letter to the UK embassy in Ghana, and lawyers from London flew to Ghana, and they argued that the boy was, as he claims, was being mistreated by the teachers in the school in Ghana, and the case was taken to the High Court in London. Now, the judge in London has found that actually life for the boy is far much safer in a boarding school in Ghana than in the streets of London. His father argued that the chances of his 13-year-old boy dying in London as a victim of a stabbing was way higher, and that his life was basically spared by being sent to Ghana. Let that sink in. That black boys are safer in Africa than they are in the UK.
I don't know why everyone's acting brand new. So the story is, 14-year-old boy gets shipped back to Ghana by his parents because they had fears he was going to join gangs or be involved in that kind of activity. The boy went to the authorities and a court has said that, yeah, he can stay his ass in Ghana. This is not newsworthy. When I was growing up, kids got shipped back to their home countries or their families' home countries all the time for misbehaving. If the girls were acting a little bit loosey-goosey, they was getting shipped back. If they was drinking and doing a madness, they was getting shipped back. If the boys was involved in violence or drugs, they was getting shipped back. That's what happened when I was growing up back in the day. The only difference is this generation of kids are bright, because they are going to the authorities. They're not having it. But the authorities have said, your parents sent me back to Ghana, stay in Ghana.
This generation is different. I read an article today about a boy who is taking his parents to court for sending him back to Africa without his consent. It seems like this was the last resort. His parents found pictures on his phone where he's holding knives, his friends are holding knives. The school suspect that he's being groomed. He's coming in wearing expensive clothes, holding items that a boy his age, he's only 13, just simply shouldn't have. His parents tried a myriad of things. They tried tracking his location. They tried being aggressive towards him verbally. They tried beating him. They tried all of these things and none of those things worked. So they said, you are going home. Why am I speaking about this? As a teenager, my friends would disappear. 1 minute they were in school, the next minute they were gone. As a teacher, years later, I'm seeing the same thing. Students you see on Monday, you don't see on Tuesday. I'm going to go ahead and say that actually this method does not work anymore. The kids are coming back worse. And yes, they are coming back. Before, you would send them off for years. Now within the year, they are back in the same school. Why is this happening? Because the kids are protesting and the parents are giving in. I think we need to open the conversation. To parents, I want to implore you, please stop sending your children back to places they've never been to, or maybe they've been to once or twice in their life. This is not going to be the solution that you think it will be. As a community, as schools, what more can we do to support such families who feel they have nothing else they can do except send their children back home?
Send your kid to Nigeria. Is your kid getting way too big for his boots? It's never too big for the boot, you know, but no, you get in trouble doing that in England. So do you know what you do? You tell them they go on holiday to Nigeria. Or you tell them it's a vacation, family vacation. And you know what? Mom's going to take care of everyone's passports. When they get there, take the passport away and let them move into their new school, a boarding school, where they will speak Yoruba, Igbo, or we can go to Ghana, Tree. Every morning, they'll have to prostrate, and they will learn to give things with their right hand. That's what these parents did to their son who was involved in gang culture. Trainers, they never bought him. Carrying weapons. He had mobile phones, they never bought him. And then he took his parents to court to say, I want to come back. Do you know what the judge says? You're staying there, bro. Your parents have the right to protect your life. They're your parents. So send your kids to Nigeria or Ghana if they're misbehaving.
Yo, what are you saying, people? So, I wanted to talk about this particular topic here that is on the Shade Borough and I'm just regarding this 14-year-old boy who the judge had allowed the parents for him to stay in Ghana. I think from my perspective, speaking as a social worker, I actually had a similar case in my first local authority. So I remember what actually happened is, remember I got a referral and the concerns were literally exactly the same. But funny enough, it was a self-referral from a elderly grandmother. So the young boy at the time, he was actually 14, living with his grandma. He wasn't living with his mum because mum was struggling to manage his behaviour. So this was maternal grandma. So grandma basically was saying, I'm really struggling with my grandson. He's not going to school. I've got concerns that people outside of the home are making him do things that he doesn't want to do. He's going missing. There's a lot of concern with his behaviour. So when the case got allocated to me, I completed a child and family assessment and the case went to a child and need plan. I got on really well with the young person and grandma, and I think having that kind of cultural kind of identity, my name, Nana, grandma knows, he's Ghanaian, young Ghanaian, black social worker. So I had a good relationship with grandma and a good relationship with the son, but the concerns were still ongoing. And I remember I spoke to mum as well, and then mum was kind of saying to me, Nana, listen, this is the reason why he's with my mum. Do you know what I mean? Because the concerns are they're rapid. He's not changing. So I remember mum and grandma called me, and then they both said to me, what are options available? Is it possible if we can take him to Ghana? In fact, it was grandma's idea. And because grandma's the main carer. And I said to grandma, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea, because grandma felt that actually going to Ghana will not only be a culture shock, but it will also get him away from what's happening here in London. So remember, I took it to my manager, and my manager said to me, you know what, Nana, I actually agree, and I think it's good you spoke to him. I agree with this plan, for him to go to Ghana. So what is it you need? So I remember grandma was just saying to me, look, going to Ghana, there's some local schools, and because obviously I've been to Ghana many times, grandma was going to take him to Accra's capital, where they were going to be East Legon. I got family in East Legon. So when my manager spoke to me about Ghana, I was able to say, yeah, I know East Legon very, very well. I've been there. I know the local schools, So in terms of checks and stuff, it wasn't really a problem. So I remember what happened is it was during the summer holidays that he went to Ghana. So I held the case on a child and need plan for how long was it? About 4 or 5 months or so, and then he went to Ghana. And mum went to Ghana with grandma. They all went, and he went. And then mum came back, but grandma stayed out there to make sure he's enrolled in a school. And then when he realized and clocked, he was so angry. He was so angry. You know, even his friends started calling our MASH team to go and say, "Oh, he's been kidnapped. He's been kidnapped." And he was like calling me bear. He was calling me a lot. No, how can you not do this to me? This and this and this and this and this. And I honestly said to him, you know what, to do, me, your mum, and your grandma, we do think this is best for you. You know what I mean? Because of what's going on here in London. Do you know what I mean? And in the beginning, like, he did enroll to a school. He was angry, very, very angry. But I kept the case open for a bit longer because I could have closed it, but I kept it open. I FaceTimed him, I wanted to check up on him and everything. And as the months progressed, he actually started to settle. And then I remember when I closed the case, I called him again. And he said to me, you know, no, I think it was the best decision that my grandma made with my mum for me to come to Ghana. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that I think, one, I know some people might go and say that, you know, parents who do this, they're abandoning their children. I don't think it's about abandoning their children, because in this particular article here, you need to hear what the parents said. They don't want another black child stabbed in London. That for me, if anything, supersedes it. It's the parents' concern is that if their child stayed here, he'll be killed. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's about abandoning. I just think it's about parents want to see if there's other avenues available to them. And I think as practitioners, as social workers, I think we need to also have discussion with parents, because I think a lot of these cases that I've worked with young people, even if like cases whereby young people, they end up going to care because of these issues, it doesn't fix it. It doesn't. Yes, I agree. Early intervention is what we need to be doing 100% before we even get to that point. But I think we need to be having different conversation with parents, you know, in terms of what options are there available to them. If there's family overseas, or if you've got provision overseas, like what other plans do they have? We need to have those conversations. But I think the parents' decision that they made, I agree with it. I think it's the right decision. I think that the judge as well very much understood the parents.
Yeah, personally, for somebody who grew up in Ghana, went to school there, it was a great experience. We learned a lot, you know. It wasn't great most of the times. It's, you know, it's one of those things that shapes you in a very different way, helps you look at the world differently. Okay. But now the schools in Ghana, especially with all these private schools coming up, because from what I hear, they've enrolled him in a private school, right? Or should I say luxury private schools that are like you are here in the UK or in the US, okay? Because Ghana has always had private schools and government schools, so let me clarify that. But these like modern or new private schools that are coming up, they are way different. They are very, very different than what we used to know of. So he's probably going to be there as if he's here. All right. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's not going to help him, but then knife crimes in Ghana is almost not there. Okay. So the part about joining gangs and all that, you probably not get it. Like if you were or if he was here. All right. So that is not something that is going to happen. However, with everything that is going on in Ghana now, the schools I know back then is not the same as today. So it will depend on the individual and how long they stay there for. Like the lady was talking about how long they stay there for, because if he's going to go there for 1 year or 2 years, he just have to, you know, push it through for a couple of years and come back. He's going to come back and go back to where he was before. All right. But if he's going to be staying there for a few years, like 4 or 5 years, probably it would impact him in a different way, because then he'll start making friends, then he'll start learning different things and so on and so forth. But who is to tell? He gets to 18, he comes back, he joins them again. You can't win with this situation, depending on how far gone your child is. Okay. So it all boils down to parenting. All right. At the end of the day, it all boils down to parenting. I know a lot of people will say or argue that over here you don't have control over the kids and so on and so forth. It's not easy. All right. You need to find ways and means. But I believe that if you are from Africa, take them back. Yes, take them back. Let them learn about their culture and everything. But the part about them being changed for being in an African school, this is old. This worked back in the day, in my opinion. I don't think in this day and age, at this point in time, is going to work, because some of the stories I hear from the kids that go to school in Ghana, even here, let me not say too much, but hey, it is what it is. If that's what you want to do, you can try it and see if it works. All right. But to me, It depends on the person and how far gone they are when it comes to these things. So it is what it is. But anyway, leave your own thoughts and opinions in the comments, and I'll see you again with another video. Take care of yourselves and one another. Bye.